motivation, and goal achievement. What drives us? Welcome to one of the most practical and personally transformative areas of psychology: motivation and goal achievement. Every day, we make countless decisions about what to pursue, how much effort to invest, and when to persist or give up. Understanding what drives human motivation can literally change your life by helping you harness your natural psychological tendencies to achieve your most important goals. Motivation is the engine of human behavior. It's what gets you out of bed in the morning, drives you through challenges, and keeps you working toward distant goals even when immediate rewards aren't apparent. Yet motivation is far more complex than simple willpower or desire. It involves intricate psychological systems that have evolved over millions of years to help humans survive, thrive, and find meaning. What makes the study of motivation so fascinating is that it reveals why some people seem naturally driven while others struggle with procrastination, why certain goals energize us while others feel like drudgery, and why motivation can be so inconsistent, flowing strongly one day and completely absent the next. The insights we'll explore today come from decades of psychological research across diverse contexts, from schools and workplaces to sports arenas and therapy offices. These aren't just theoretical concepts, but practical tools that can help you understand your own motivational patterns, set more effective goals, and create sustainable systems for achievement. Perhaps most importantly, understanding motivation helps us move beyond the myth that successful people simply have more willpower than others. Instead, we'll discover that lasting motivation comes from aligning our goals with our deepest psychological needs and creating environments that naturally sustain our drive to achieve. First component: intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. The distinction between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation represents one of the most important discoveries in motivational psychology. Intrinsic motivation comes from internal satisfaction, the joy of the activity itself, personal growth, or alignment with your values. Extrinsic motivation comes from external rewards or consequences, money, grades, recognition, or avoiding punishment. This distinction matters because these two types of motivation work very differently and produce different outcomes. When you're intrinsically motivated, you engage in activities because they're inherently satisfying. A musician who practices for hours because they love music, a scientist who stays late in the lab because they're fascinated by their research, or a parent who reads bedtime stories because they enjoy connecting with their child. All are driven by intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation, while often necessary, can actually undermine intrinsic motivation in a phenomenon called the overjustification effect. When people receive external rewards for activities they already find intrinsically rewarding, their internal motivation can decrease. Children who love to draw may draw less after receiving rewards for their artwork, as their brain shifts from "I draw because I love it" to "I draw for the reward." However, not all extrinsic motivation is problematic. The key is how external factors are perceived and administered. Controlling extrinsic motivators that feel manipulative or coercive tend to undermine intrinsic motivation. But informational extrinsic motivators that provide feedback about competence or support autonomy can actually enhance intrinsic motivation. The research shows that intrinsic motivation leads to higher creativity, better learning, improved well-being, and greater persistence through challenges. People who are intrinsically motivated don't just perform better, they also report greater life satisfaction and psychological health. Understanding this distinction has profound implications for parenting, education, and management. Instead of relying primarily on rewards and punishments, effective motivators focus on fostering intrinsic motivation by supporting people's natural curiosity, desire for mastery, and need for autonomy. In your personal life, this means examining why you pursue certain goals. Are you exercising because you genuinely enjoy feeling strong and healthy, or just to look good to others? Are you learning new skills because you find them fascinating, or just to impress your boss? The why behind your goals significantly affects both your likelihood of success and your satisfaction along the way. Cultivating intrinsic motivation often involves connecting activities to your deeper values and interests. Even mundane tasks can become more intrinsically motivating when you understand how they connect to meaningful outcomes or opportunities for growth and learning. The practical application involves gradually shifting from external to internal motivators. Instead of just setting reward-based goals, ask yourself, how can I make this activity more inherently satisfying? How does this goal align with my values? What aspects of this challenge could I learn to enjoy? Modern workplaces are increasingly recognizing the power of intrinsic motivation, moving beyond simple carrot-and-stick approaches to create environments that foster autonomy, mastery, and purpose. The 3 pillars of sustainable motivation that we'll explore throughout this discussion. Second component, self-determination theory. Self-determination theory, developed by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, provides one of the most comprehensive frameworks for understanding human motivation. The theory proposes that people have 3 basic psychological needs that must be satisfied for optimal motivation, performance, and well-being: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy refers to the need to feel volitional and self-directed in your actions. It's not about being independent or isolated, but about feeling that your behavior originates from your own values and choices rather than external pressures. When you have autonomy, you experience a sense of ownership over your goals and actions. People thrive when they feel they have choices and control over their environment. Micromanagement, excessive rules, and controlling communication styles all undermine autonomy and reduce intrinsic motivation. Conversely, providing choices, explaining rationales for necessary constraints, and supporting self-direction enhance autonomous motivation. Competence involves the need to feel effective and capable of achieving desired outcomes. This isn't just about being skilled. It's about experiencing mastery, growth, and the satisfaction of overcoming challenges. Competence motivation drives us to seek optimal challenges that stretch our abilities without overwhelming us. The sweet spot for competence motivation is tasks that are challenging enough to require effort and growth, but not so difficult that they feel impossible. This is where flow states occur. Those magical periods where you're completely absorbed in an activity and perform at your best. Feedback plays a crucial role in supporting competence. People need information about their progress and performance to maintain motivation. However, the quality of feedback matters enormously. Feedback that is timely, specific, and focused on effort and strategy tends to enhance motivation, while evaluative or controlling feedback can undermine it. Relatedness encompasses the need to feel connected to others and experience a sense of belonging. Humans are fundamentally social creatures, and our motivation is deeply influenced by our relationships and social context. When we feel valued, understood, and connected to others, our motivation flourishes. Relatedness doesn't require constant social interaction, but it does require feeling that your activities and goals connect you to something larger than yourself, whether that's family, community, or shared values and purposes. Isolation and disconnection are powerful demotivators for most people. The 3 needs work synergistically. When all 3 are satisfied, people experience optimal motivation, engagement, and well-being. When one or more needs are frustrated, motivation suffers, even if external rewards are present. This explains why purely reward-based motivation systems often fail to create lasting change. Self-determination theory has been validated across cultures, ages, and contexts. Whether in schools, workplaces, healthcare settings, or personal relationships, supporting these 3 basic needs consistently leads to better outcomes for motivation, performance, and psychological health. Applying this theory to your own life involves regularly assessing whether your goals and activities support your needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Goals that satisfy all three needs are more likely to sustain your motivation over time and contribute to your overall well-being. Third component, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs remains one of the most influential theories in psychology, proposing that human needs are organized in a hierarchical structure. According to this theory, people are motivated to fulfill lower-level needs before higher-level needs become prominent motivators. Understanding this hierarchy helps explain why motivation can vary so dramatically based on circumstances. The foundation of the hierarchy consists of physiological needs, the biological requirements for survival including food, water, sleep, and shelter. When these needs are unmet, they dominate attention and motivation. It's difficult to focus on self-actualization when you're hungry or sleep-deprived. This level reminds us that basic physical well-being forms the foundation for all higher motivations. Safety needs form the second level, encompassing both physical safety and psychological security. This includes job security, financial stability, health insurance, and predictable environments. When safety needs are threatened, people become risk-averse and focus on protection rather than growth. Understanding this level helps explain why uncertainty and instability are such powerful demotivators. Love and belonging needs represent the third level, involving relationships, social connections, and group membership. These needs drive us to form friendships, romantic partnerships, family bonds, and community connections. Social rejection and isolation create powerful negative motivation, while acceptance and belonging fuel positive motivation toward shared goals. Esteem needs occupy the fourth level, divided into two categories: esteem from others, recognition, status, appreciation, and self-esteem, confidence, achievement, independence. These needs drive much of human ambition and achievement-seeking behavior. People want to feel valued by others and confident in their own abilities. Self-actualization sits at the top of the original hierarchy, representing the need to fulfill one's potential and become everything one is capable of becoming. This level involves creativity, problem-solving, acceptance of facts, and peak experiences. Self-actualized individuals are driven by growth, meaning, and the full expression of their capabilities. Maslow later added two additional levels: cognitive needs, knowledge, understanding, exploration, and aesthetic needs, beauty, balance, order. He also proposed self-transcendence as the highest level, the need to connect with something beyond the individual self, whether through service, spirituality, or contributing to causes greater than oneself. The hierarchy isn't rigidly sequential. People can be motivated by multiple levels simultaneously, and circumstances can cause regression to lower levels. A secure professional might be motivated by self-actualization until they lose their job, at which point safety needs become paramount. Cultural factors significantly influence how needs are expressed and prioritized. Collectivistic cultures might emphasize belonging and social harmony more than individualistic cultures, while economic conditions affect how much attention people can devote to higher-level needs. Understanding Maslow's hierarchy helps explain motivational patterns in yourself and others. When someone seems unmotivated by opportunities for growth or recognition, they might be struggling with more basic needs that require attention first. Meeting lower-level needs often unleashes energy for pursuing higher-level goals. The theory also suggests that motivation evolves throughout life. As people secure their basic needs, they naturally become motivated by higher-level concerns. This progression can guide personal development planning and help explain changing priorities across different life stages. Fourth component, expectancy theory. Expectancy theory, developed by Victor Virum, provides a rational model for understanding motivation based on the relationship between effort, performance, and outcomes. According to this theory, motivation is determined by three key factors: expectancy, instrumentality, and valence. Understanding these factors helps explain why people choose to exert effort toward some goals, but not others. Expectancy refers to the belief that increased effort will lead to improved performance. This is your confidence in your ability to successfully complete a task if you try hard enough. When expectancy is high, you believe that working harder will make a meaningful difference in your results. When expectancy is low, you doubt that additional effort will improve your performance. Several factors influence expectancy, including past experience, self-confidence, perceived difficulty of the task, and available resources and support. People with high self-efficacy in a domain typically have higher expectancy, while those who have experienced repeated failures may develop low expectancy even for achievable tasks. Instrumentality involves the belief that good performance will lead to desired outcomes. Even if you're confident you can perform well, you need to believe that performance will actually result in the rewards or consequences you care about. This addresses the question: if I do well, will it matter? Trust in the system, past experience with promises being kept, and clarity about the connection between performance and outcomes all affect instrumentality. When people see high performers being ignored or poor performers being rewarded, instrumentality drops significantly, reducing motivation even when expectancy remains high. Valence refers to the value you place on the expected outcomes. Even if you believe effort leads to performance and performance leads to outcomes, you won't be motivated if you don't care about those outcomes. Valence can be positive, you want the outcome; negative, you want to avoid the outcome; or neutral, you don't care either way. The beauty of expectancy theory is that it's multiplicative. Motivation equals expectancy times instrumentality times valence. This means that if any factor is zero, overall motivation will be zero. You need all three components for strong motivation: confidence in your ability to perform, belief that performance will lead to outcomes, and valuing of those outcomes. This framework helps diagnose motivational problems. When someone seems unmotivated, you can examine each component. Are they doubting their ability to succeed? Low expectancy? Do they not see the connection between effort and rewards? Low instrumentality? Or do they simply not value the potential outcomes? Low valence? Individual differences in these factors help explain why the same situation motivates some people, but not others. One person might be highly motivated by the possibility of public recognition, while another person finds such attention uncomfortable or unimportant. The theory also explains why goal difficulty affects motivation in complex ways. Moderately difficult goals can maximize motivation by providing optimal expectancy, challenging enough to be meaningful, but achievable enough to maintain confidence. Goals that are too easy provide high expectancy but low valence, while goals that are too difficult provide high valence but low expectancy. Applying expectancy theory to your own motivation involves honestly assessing all three factors for your important goals. If motivation is lacking, identify which component needs attention and take specific action to address it. Fifth component: SMART goal setting. The SMART criteria for goal setting have become one of the most widely used frameworks for translating intentions into achievable objectives. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This framework addresses common problems with goal setting that often lead to failure and disappointment. Specific goals clearly define what you want to accomplish, leaving no ambiguity about the intended outcome. Vague goals like get in better shape or improve my career lack the clarity needed to direct behavior effectively. Specific goals answer the who, what, where, when, and why questions about the desired outcome. The power of specificity lies in its ability to focus attention and effort. When goals are specific, your brain has a clear target to work toward. Specific goals also make it easier to identify the actions needed to achieve them and to recognize when you've succeeded. Measurable goals include concrete criteria for tracking progress and determining when the goal has been achieved. Measurement transforms subjective impressions into objective data, making it easier to stay motivated and make necessary adjustments along the way. Measurement also enables progress celebration, which is crucial for maintaining long-term motivation. When you can see concrete evidence of advancement toward your goal, it reinforces your efforts and encourages continued action. Without measurement, progress often goes unnoticed, leading to discouragement and abandonment. Achievable goals are realistic and attainable given your current resources, skills, and circumstances. While goals should be challenging enough to motivate growth, they shouldn't be so difficult that they become discouraging. The key is finding the optimal level of difficulty that stretches your capabilities without breaking your confidence. Achievability assessment requires honest self-evaluation and often benefits from external feedback. What seems impossible to you might be easily achievable, while what seems easy might involve hidden challenges you haven't considered. Experienced mentors or coaches can help calibrate appropriate difficulty levels. Relevant goals align with your broader values, priorities, and life direction. A goal might be specific, measurable, and achievable, but if it doesn't matter to you or support your larger objectives, you're unlikely to maintain motivation over time. Relevance provides the why that sustains effort through difficulties. Relevance also involves considering how goals fit with other priorities and commitments. Even worthwhile goals can become problematic if they conflict with more important objectives or create unsustainable demands on your time and energy. Time-bound goals include specific deadlines or timeframes for completion. Deadlines create urgency and help prevent procrastination by making the abstract future more concrete and pressing. Without time constraints, goals can languish indefinitely in the someday category. Effective time-bounding often involves breaking larger goals into smaller milestones with intermediate deadlines. This creates multiple opportunities for progress celebration and course correction, while maintaining forward momentum toward the ultimate objective. The SMART framework isn't perfect. Some critics argue it can make goals too rigid or focused on easily measurable outcomes while neglecting important, but harder to quantify objectives. However, when used thoughtfully, SMART criteria dramatically improve goal achievement rates by addressing the most common reasons goals fail. Sixth component, Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect, discovered by psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik in the 1920s, reveals that people remember interrupted or incomplete tasks better than completed ones. This phenomenon has profound implications for motivation and goal achievement, explaining both why unfinished business can be mentally consuming and how to harness this tendency for improved performance. Zeigarnik noticed that waiters could remember complex orders perfectly while serving customers, but quickly forgot the details once the order was completed and paid for. This led to experiments showing that people recall interrupted tasks approximately twice as well as completed tasks, even when the interruptions are brief. The effect occurs because incomplete tasks create a psychological tension that keeps them active in memory. Your brain treats unfinished goals as open loops that require ongoing attention and energy. This mental activation continues until the task is completed or consciously abandoned, explaining why incomplete projects can feel mentally draining. From a motivational perspective, the Zeigarnik effect can be both helpful and harmful. On the positive side, starting a task creates psychological momentum that encourages completion. Once you begin working toward a goal, your brain naturally wants to finish it, providing built-in motivation to continue. However, the effect can also create problematic mental clutter when you have too many incomplete tasks competing for attention simultaneously. Each unfinished project consumes mental resources, potentially leading to stress, distraction, and reduced effectiveness on current priorities. The effect is stronger for tasks that are personally meaningful or challenging compared to routine or trivial activities. Goals that align with your values and require significant effort create more psychological tension and are more likely to stay active in your consciousness. Understanding the Zeigarnik effect provides several practical strategies for improving motivation and goal achievement. First, simply starting a task, even in a small way, creates psychological momentum that makes continuation more likely. This explains why getting started is often the biggest hurdle in achieving goals. The effect also suggests benefits of strategic interruption. Taking breaks during complex tasks can actually improve performance by maintaining the psychological tension that keeps the task active in memory. However, this works best when the interruptions are brief and the task remains the primary focus. For long-term projects, the Zeigarnik effect can be managed by breaking large goals into smaller, completable subtasks. This allows you to experience regular completion satisfaction while maintaining forward progress toward the larger objective. Each completed subtask reduces mental clutter, while each new subtask creates fresh motivational tension. The effect also highlights the importance of properly closing completed projects. Taking time to acknowledge completion, celebrate achievements, and mentally file away finished tasks helps clear psychological space for new priorities. Without proper closure, even completed tasks can continue consuming mental energy. Modern productivity systems often incorporate Zeigarnik effect principles through practices like capturing all commitments in external systems, regularly reviewing progress, and maintaining clear distinctions between active projects and completed ones. These approaches help harness the motivational benefits while minimizing the mental overhead costs. Seventh component: procrastination. Procrastination, the tendency to delay important tasks despite knowing the delay will cause problems, represents one of the most common and frustrating motivational challenges. Far from being simply a matter of laziness or poor time management, procrastination involves complex psychological processes that can be understood and addressed through scientific insights. Research reveals that procrastination is fundamentally an emotional regulation problem, rather than a time management issue. When facing tasks that trigger negative emotions like anxiety, boredom, or feelings of inadequacy, people often avoid the task to escape these uncomfortable feelings. The temporary relief provides immediate reward, reinforcing the procrastination pattern. The procrastination cycle typically follows a predictable pattern. Initial task avoidance provides short-term emotional relief, but creates increasing pressure as deadlines approach. Eventually, external pressure overcomes avoidance motivation, leading to rushed completion often accompanied by stress, guilt, and compromised quality. Several psychological factors contribute to procrastination tendencies. Perfectionism can paralyze action through fear of imperfect results. Low self-efficacy creates doubt about ability to complete tasks successfully. Abstract or distant goals feel less motivating than immediate alternatives. Fear of failure or even fear of success can create unconscious resistance to important tasks. Task characteristics also influence procrastination likelihood. Boring, difficult, ambiguous, or unpleasant tasks are more likely to be procrastinated than engaging, manageable, clear, or enjoyable ones. Tasks with distant deadlines or abstract benefits are more vulnerable to procrastination than those with immediate consequences. Understanding these factors suggests several anti-procrastination strategies. Breaking large tasks into smaller, more manageable components makes them feel less overwhelming and provides more frequent completion satisfaction. Setting artificial deadlines creates urgency for tasks with distant actual deadlines. Environmental design can reduce procrastination by removing distractions and making desired behaviors easier, while making undesired behaviors harder. This might involve blocking distracting websites during work hours, preparing exercise clothes the night before, or removing tempting foods from easily accessible locations. The 2-minute rule suggests immediately completing any task that takes less than 2 minutes rather than adding it to a to-do list. This prevents small tasks from accumulating into overwhelming backlogs while building momentum for tackling larger projects. Temptation bundling involves pairing less enjoyable necessary tasks with more enjoyable activities. Listening to favorite music only while exercising, watching specific shows only while folding laundry, or meeting friends only at the library for studying can make avoided tasks more attractive. Implementation intentions, specific if-then plans for handling procrastination triggers, can automate good behavior responses. If I feel like checking social media during work time, then I will do 5 minutes of the current project first, creates predetermined responses to common procrastination situations. Self-compassion appears crucial for overcoming chronic procrastination. Harsh self-criticism after procrastination episodes often increases stress and shame, making future procrastination more likely. Treating procrastination setbacks with understanding while recommitting to better strategies creates more sustainable behavior change. 8th component, willpower. Willpower, also known as self-control, is the ability to resist immediate temptations and impulses in service of longer-term goals. Long considered a character trait that some people simply possess more of than others, research has revealed willpower to be more like a skill that can be developed and a resource that can be depleted and renewed. The strength model of willpower, developed by Roy Baumeister, suggests that self-control operates like a muscle that can become fatigued with use. Just as physical muscles become tired after exercise, willpower becomes depleted after resisting temptations, making subsequent self-control challenges more difficult to manage successfully. This depletion effect, called ego depletion, has been demonstrated across numerous studies. People who resist eating cookies in one situation are less able to persist on difficult puzzles later. Students who control their emotions during stressful films show reduced self-control on subsequent tasks. The implications suggest that willpower is a limited resource that must be managed strategically. However, recent research has challenged the universality of ego depletion effects, suggesting that beliefs about willpower may be as important as actual depletion. People who believe willpower is unlimited show less depletion than those who believe it's limited, indicating that mindset significantly influences self-control capacity. Factors that restore willpower include rest, positive emotions, self-affirmation, and glucose consumption. Brief breaks between demanding self-control tasks can restore capacity. Positive experiences and emotions appear to replenish willpower reserves. Reminding yourself of important values can provide renewed strength for self-control challenges. The glucose connection is particularly interesting. Self-control appears to consume actual energy in the form of blood glucose. Tasks requiring willpower literally use up the brain's fuel, and consuming glucose can restore self-control capacity. This suggests that maintaining stable blood sugar through proper nutrition supports consistent willpower. Training approaches can strengthen willpower over time. Regular exercise appears to improve general self-control capacity, not just physical fitness. Meditation and mindfulness practices enhance awareness of impulses and the ability to choose responses rather than reacting automatically. Even simple practices like using your non-dominant hand for routine tasks can build self-control strength. Environmental strategies can reduce willpower demands by making good choices easier and bad choices harder. Organizing your environment to support desired behaviors means relying less on willpower in moment-to-moment decisions. Pre-commitment strategies involve making future choices when willpower is strong rather than relying on in-the-moment self-control. The most effective approach to willpower appears to be using it strategically rather than relying on it constantly. Identify the most important self-control challenges in your life and focus willpower resources there while using environmental design and habit formation to automate other behaviors. Understanding willpower limitations also promotes self-compassion during inevitable failures. Willpower lapses don't indicate personal weakness, but reflect the natural limitations of human self-control systems. This understanding can prevent shame spirals that make recovery from setbacks more difficult. Ninth component, habituation. Habituation refers to the psychological tendency for responses to stimuli to decrease over time with repeated exposure. In the context of motivation, habituation explains why activities that once excited us can become routine and uninteresting, and why rewards that once motivated us lose their power to drive behavior. The hedonic treadmill represents one manifestation of habituation, describing how people quickly return to baseline happiness levels despite positive or negative life events. The excitement of a new job, relationship, or purchase fades as we adapt to these changes, requiring increasingly novel or intense stimuli to maintain the same level of satisfaction. Habituation serves important evolutionary functions by allowing attention to shift from familiar, non-threatening stimuli to novel, potentially important changes in the environment. However, in modern contexts, habituation can undermine motivation by reducing the reward value of activities and achievements that once provided strong incentives. Understanding habituation helps explain why purely reward-based motivation systems often fail over time. Bonuses, praise, and other extrinsic motivators tend to lose effectiveness as people adapt to them. What felt like generous compensation initially becomes the expected baseline, requiring ever-increasing rewards to maintain motivational impact. The phenomenon also affects intrinsic motivation, though often less severely. Even activities you genuinely enjoy can become less engaging through repetition. Hobbies can turn into chores, favorite foods can become boring, and exciting challenges can transform into routine tasks as habituation reduces their novelty and emotional impact. Several strategies can combat motivation-killing habituation. Variety and novelty help maintain interest by preventing complete adaptation. Rotating between different activities, changing environments, or introducing new elements to familiar tasks can restore motivational power by reducing habituation effects. Spacing and intermittent reinforcement also fight habituation by preventing overexposure to rewarding stimuli. Taking breaks from enjoyable activities can restore their appeal, while unpredictable reward schedules maintain engagement longer than predictable ones. Savoring involves consciously attending to and appreciating positive experiences, which can slow habituation by maintaining awareness and emotional engagement. Gratitude practices work similarly by directing attention to positive aspects of life that might otherwise be taken for granted. Progressive challenges provide natural antidotes to habituation by ensuring continuous growth and novelty. As you master current challenges, introducing new levels of difficulty maintains the excitement and engagement that habituation would otherwise erode. Social connection can also counteract habituation by adding interpersonal elements to activities that might otherwise become routine. Exercising with others, sharing achievements, and experiencing activities in social contexts can maintain engagement even after individual habituation occurs. Understanding habituation encourages proactive motivation management, rather than waiting for boredom or disengagement to signal problems. Regular assessment of your motivation levels and preemptive introduction of variety, challenge, or novelty can maintain long-term engagement with important goals and activities. 10th component, paradox of choice. The paradox of choice describes the counterintuitive finding that having too many options can actually decrease satisfaction and motivation rather than increase them. While some choice is essential for motivation and well-being, excessive choice can lead to decision paralysis, increased regret, and reduced satisfaction with selected options. Psychologist Barry Schwartz identified several problems that arise when choice becomes overwhelming. Analysis paralysis occurs when the number of options makes decision-making so complex that people postpone or avoid choosing altogether. The fear of making the wrong choice becomes so strong that no choice feels safe. Escalating expectations accompany increased choice as people assume that with so many options available, they should be able to find something perfect. This sets unrealistically high standards that actual choices struggle to meet, leading to disappointment even when objectively good decisions are made. Post-decision regret intensifies with more choices because it's easier to imagine alternatives that might have been better. With only 2 options, you can focus on the benefits of your choice. With 20 options, you're constantly aware of 19 alternatives that might have been superior. Opportunity cost awareness increases with more choices, making people more conscious of what they're giving up by choosing one option over others. This focus on foregone alternatives can reduce satisfaction with chosen options, even when those options are objectively excellent. The distinction between maximizers and satisficers helps explain individual differences in choice responses. Maximizers seek the absolute best option and become overwhelmed when choices proliferate. Satisficers set criteria for good enough and choose the first option that meets their standards, remaining happier despite potentially suboptimal choices. Cultural factors influence choice preferences significantly. Individualistic cultures that emphasize personal freedom and self-determination generally prefer more choices than collectivistic cultures that prioritize group harmony and tradition. However, even in choice-loving cultures, there appears to be an optimal number of options beyond which satisfaction decreases. Strategies for managing choice overload include pre-filtering options based on important criteria, using satisficing rather than maximizing approaches for less important decisions, and delegating some choices to trusted others or automated systems. The goal is preserving choice for decisions that truly matter, while simplifying less important selections. Choice architecture. The way options are presented and organized significantly affects decision quality and satisfaction. Good architecture reduces cognitive load by organizing options logically, highlighting recommended choices, and providing appropriate amounts of information without overwhelming detail. For motivation, the paradox of choice suggests that some constraint and structure actually enhance rather than limit engagement. Goals that are too open-ended can be paralyzing, while appropriately bounded goals provide enough freedom to feel autonomous while offering clear direction for action. Understanding this paradox helps explain why simple, clear goals often outperform complex, multifaceted objectives. It also suggests that environments with moderate choice and clear guidance may be more motivating than those with unlimited options, but little structure or support. Conclusion: mastering your motivational landscape. Our journey through the psychology of motivation reveals that human drive is far more sophisticated and nuanced than simple willpower or desire. Motivation emerges from the complex interaction of psychological needs, cognitive processes, environmental factors, and individual differences that we can learn to understand and influence. The distinction between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation provides a foundation for sustainable achievement. While external rewards have their place, lasting motivation comes from activities that satisfy our deepest needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Building these elements into your goals and daily activities creates natural momentum that doesn't depend on constant external reinforcement. Self-determination theory and Maslow's hierarchy remind us that motivation is contextual. What drives us depends on which needs are currently most pressing. Understanding your own motivational landscape means regularly assessing whether your basic needs are met and whether your goals align with your current developmental priorities. The practical frameworks we've explored, from SMART goal setting to expectancy theory, provide tools for translating motivational insights into effective action. These aren't just academic concepts, but proven methods for increasing your success rate with important objectives while maintaining satisfaction throughout the journey. The darker side of motivation, procrastination, willpower depletion, and choice paralysis, reveals the importance of working with rather than against your psychological tendencies. Understanding these challenges allows you to design systems and environments that naturally support your goals rather than constantly battling your own mind. Perhaps most importantly, this exploration reveals that sustainable motivation isn't about finding permanent enthusiasm for everything you need to do. Instead, it's about creating systems, habits, and mindsets that support consistent action even when enthusiasm wanes. It's about aligning your efforts with your deepest values and designing your environment to make good choices easier than poor ones. The research consistently shows that people who understand their own motivational patterns and create supporting structures achieve more while experiencing greater satisfaction and less stress. This isn't about becoming a motivation machine, but about becoming more skillful at directing your natural psychological tendencies toward outcomes that truly matter to you. Motivation is ultimately about the relationship between who you are now and who you want to become. It's the bridge between your current reality and your aspirations, powered by your values, supported by your environment, and guided by your understanding of what truly drives human behavior. As you apply these insights to your own life, remember that motivation is not a problem to be solved once, but a capacity to be developed throughout your lifetime. Your motivational needs and patterns will evolve as you grow and change, requiring ongoing attention and adjustment. The goal isn't to be motivated all the time. That's neither possible nor necessary. Instead, aim to be motivated at the right times for the right reasons, in ways that serve your long-term flourishing and contribution to the world around you. Thank you for exploring the fascinating landscape of human motivation with me. Remember that understanding these principles is just the beginning. The real transformation comes from thoughtfully applying them to create a life that naturally energizes and sustains your most important pursuits. Your motivation is not a fixed trait but a dynamic capacity that you can learn to understand, develop, and direct. Use these insights wisely, and they will serve you well in the magnificent challenge of becoming who you're meant to be.